Hello Edexcel students, we've done it for paper 1, let's now do it for paper 2. Hot topic areas for you to weigh up in your revision, give an extra 10% of your revision time towards these topic areas, whereby look, if they come up in your exam, you're laughing, you can write great essays, but you're not disregarding all the other parts of the course, you're still revising everything, whereby even if these topic areas don't feature significantly, you can still answer questions very easily and score very high marks. And also note that these topic areas are not just for paper 2, they're for paper 3 as well. So if they don't feature in paper 2, they could easily come up in paper 3. So let's get into it. What are these major hot topic areas? Let's start with topic area number 1. Exchange rates, a major topic area here. There are so many themes out there that examiners can latch onto and ask you an essay question about. Most notably, exchange rate depreciation, weaker exchange rates. There are many countries out there in the world who are experiencing very weak exchange rates. Most notably here in the UK, we can blame Brexit for that, but more recently the Liz Truss quasi-Kwarteng mini budget and the dive in the value of the pound, weak macro performance, keeping the value of the pound weak. But outside the UK, Turkey with a very weak lira, Argentina and their very weak peso, Lebanon, Egypt, Nigeria, even more advanced nations like India, Japan, outside of those two, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, so many countries going through weak currencies at the moment. So the macro impacts of that, the links to macro performance of that is a worthwhile area for you to revise very heavily. The opposite of that is appreciation, stronger exchange rates. The US, pretty much the only country in the world who are experiencing a significantly stronger exchange rate. And if you want a topic area slightly different, but still within the exchange rate topic, that is how Croatia have joined the Eurozone monetary union, the single currency of the euro. So knowing the pros and cons of single currency membership, of Eurozone membership, of monetary union membership is worthwhile linking to Croatia's entry at the start of 2023. Next, I would learn the pros and cons of free trade very strongly, because you might get an essay that's linked to the UK's position post-Brexit, how our trade ministers have come out and they've said we want the UK to be a global leader of free trade, to be a pioneer of free trade. And the way we're trying to do that is by signing or attempting to sign free trade deals with many countries around the world. We've signed with some already. There are some on the table at the moment as this video is being made as well. So knowing the pros and cons of free trade linked to that context is a worthwhile thing to do. We've also joined trading blocs like the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So knowing the pros and cons of your various trading blocs linking to UK context is another good area to weigh up in your revision. Don't under-revise the terms of trade. Often when terms of trade is taught and learned, it's linked to developing countries. But developed countries like the UK and Eurozone nations have experienced a massive terms of trade shock recently because of higher fuel prices, higher energy prices, higher food prices. That's a deterioration of the terms of trade that have had huge negative macro consequences in our economy. So know about deterioration of the terms of trade, but linking to advanced nations who have seen a shock with their terms of trade recently. Next, know your financial markets well. Early 2023, many banks were going bust, blaming higher interest rates for that. Most notably Silicon Valley Bank in the USA, First Republic Bank, Credit Suisse also because of higher interest rates, and how there wasn't wider systemic risk in the banking sector because of the role of financial market regulation. There's the context there. Financial market regulation to protect against wider bank failures, to protect against systemic risk, to promote macroeconomic stability. Know your financial markets well could easily be a theme this year. Next, the topic area of macro indicators. I would weigh up growth and unemployment, specifically knowing the consequences of both of those. Growth because in the UK we are desperate for it. Both political parties, whoever wins the election this year, will prioritise economic growth. Know why? By understanding the consequences, but also understand the consequences of unemployment, maybe something different, the consequences of economic inactivity, given that inactivity has risen in the UK since COVID times. So a good topic area to revise well there. Now we move into macro policy. On the fiscal policy side, there have been huge debates the last couple of years whether we need tax cuts in the UK or tax rises. We've gone the tax rises way because of the disaster of the Liz Truss and quasi-Kwarteng mini budget. Not so much from the policies they announced, but how they announced them, which caused a crash in the value of the pound, which caused bond interest rates to go through the roof, which caused huge issues in the UK macroeconomy. So know the pros and cons of tax cuts linked to that example, but also the pros and cons of tax rises, which we have been using ever since that mini budget. More generally, we've been using policies to reduce the budget deficit, not just tax rises, but also cuts and squeezes to government spending. Know about all of those really well. The pros and cons of all of those aspects of fiscal policy could easily be an essay this year. Interest rates have risen significantly in the UK, mainly to tame very high rates of inflation. Know the impacts of high interest rates, the pros and cons there. But also know your supply side policies well. We are in desperate need of supply side policies in the UK to raise potential growth, but also to reduce economic inactivity. So just know how to analyze and evaluate supply side policies given that context. Within the topic area of macro policy, I will be releasing a whole load of videos linked to major macro policy themes in the UK: fiscal, monetary, and supply side policies. They're all to come out soon. They're all going to be in my revision for 2024 exams playlist. So make sure when they come out, you watch them well. That context could be gold dust if you did get a question about macro policy linked to the UK economy. And the last topic area that I would weigh up is inequality, knowing the consequences of inequality and policies to reduce inequality. The last 2 years, mainly because of very contractionary fiscal policy, income inequality in the UK has risen. So knowing the pros and cons of that, the impacts of that, but also policies to bring it down. Your general policies that you know are fine, but also more unique policies like universal basic income, like maybe the need for a wealth tax in the UK. It's all been discussed. So know some novel policies as well as your generic policies to try and bring down inequality. But the topic area of inequality, I would weigh it up for exams this year. So there you have it, guys. Hot topic areas for you to weigh up in your revision. An extra 10% of your time devoted to all these topics is my recommendation. Knowing that if they come up, you're laughing, but if they don't, you're not disregarding everything else in the course. You can still answer questions on anything else that might feature in your exams. But note you're revising these not just for paper 2, but for paper 3 as well. So thank you so much for watching, folks. So many more videos to come. Look out for those in my revision for 2024 exams playlist. Can't wait to see you in those videos. Thanks for watching this one.